Welcome to the Extra Pass, presented by Melbourne United. I'm Ben Hopkins, joined by my co-host, Adam Ballinger, former NCAA champion, NBL All-Star, NBL All-NBL player. And we got our first guest right here, head coach of Melbourne United, Dean Vickerman. Dean, thanks for coming on.
Oh, the first one. Privileged.
Pressure's on.
No, we appreciate you coming in. Obviously, it's been a really busy period, busy off-season. Have you managed to take some time for yourself and time to get away and relax with the family?
Had a week down in Phillip Island. Go-karting, balls.
See the penguins too?
No penguins.
No penguins. Yeah, once you've seen the penguins once, it's enough. Yeah.
Didn't do the penguins, but the go-karting track on the Grand Prix track is elite if you get a chance to get down there. But they put me in the double car, the family car, whatever it was. They didn't have enough single cars, and my daughter's flying by me. And so they're saying 5 to 7 Ks slower, the car I was in. But, yeah, I just thought I was skilled enough driver to still be able to compete, but I wasn't. No, but I had a great week. The kids did surfing lessons and, got some good walks around the island. It was good fun.
Didn't get on the board yourself?
No, I got a body surfed one day, but, didn't get on the board.
No, I'm useless at surfing.
Yeah, I had a body surfing accident in Wollongong once. I was playing there. I never did it again. I'm too scared now.
You can't say that and not elaborate.
Well, I just got thrown head first into the sand, and I thought that's probably the end of my career for body surfing. Yeah,
but is there something when, what are you trying to do off the court? I know you like to get on the golf course, but what are you trying to do off the court and away from the office when, everything's getting a bit hectic and you want to maybe get away from it all?
Yeah, I've stepped away from golf a little bit. There's some body parts that haven't enjoyed it, especially the back afterwards a little bit. So, me and my mate have got a boat that's down at Safety Beach, and so anytime the weather's looking all right, and I like to just get down there and spend 3 or 4 hours just talking with him and throwing a line out. And we think we're starting to get a little bit better at the game of fishing. But the last one where we went on resulted in we just really need to get all our mates back together, and so we've decided to go up to Noosa for a weekend and gather all our mates back together. And so the actual process of getting on the boat and fishing has had some good outcomes.
Balls, back home, you do much fishing?
No.
Are you from?
I'm from the land of fishing and hunting. I did not do any fishing and hunting growing up. Basketball and riding bikes was my hobbies.
Mountain bikes?
Nope, like the ones you can pop wheelies on and like try to do tricks.
Just the biggest kid rolling around.
BMX.
Yeah. BMX. There you go.
Biggest kid rolling around on a BMX bike.
Yeah. And when it came time to get my license, and I was like bummed out. I didn't want to grow up. I didn't want to have to get a license.
Mongoose?
No, it's hand me down from Jason Murray, one of the cooler kids in the.
I just put Mongoose stickers on mine.
Well, it's been a pretty hectic off season. Obviously, a lot of roster turnover. A lot of guys coming back. From stints overseas, stints in the NBA. It's been probably the longest off-season we've had in a while. What's it been like for you just, having all this time and trying to put this team together?
Yeah, having that extra time through the finals, which we're uncomfortable with, but when you're actually recruiting, it's actually pretty nice to be able to put a team together, have that much time. So, active in free agency with the signings that we had there. Krebs and Travis were pretty big signings in free agency and sought after guys. And now, we've kind of Delhi obviously was NBA. Wait till that season finished and see what happened there with Sacramento, and so to have him locked in as well now. And now there's just these other pieces that we've still got to close out our roster with, a couple of the backup center in the development space or nominated replacement and an import guard, and we're pretty much full. So, hopefully I'll get a couple more fishes in before we get around to preseason again.
Just when it comes to imports, I know there's a ton of work that goes into video and all this stuff, and you're talking to people who've coached them before and all the research, but how I always felt like you never knew who you're going to get until they showed up. Yeah. Even with all the work that goes in, how kind of nerve-wracking is it once they finally get here and you see them on the court?
Yeah, our interview technique, I think, has got better, and how we, the Zoom world of COVID. I feel like with the conversations that we've had of continuing to get better, we get better at the questions that we want to ask, and having different people in the room, that it can be a little spontaneous. It can go somewhere and we can just pick up on something and talk about something else. And so I felt they've been pretty real, the conversations that we've had, and get a sense of people. And obviously you've spoken to coaches or ex-coaches or agents or whoever's been around them before, and you're trying to validate some of the things that they've said to you, or you're trying to challenge some of the things that they said to you. And so hopefully we have a much better idea once they get here about the type of person that we're getting, and an improvement area from last year. We probably didn't, we knew about Tuck's enthusiasm, and we knew some different things, but we want to know more than we did last year about the guys coming in.
Yeah, it seems no matter what the process is, there's always, even NFL, NBA, they're all the research that goes into those draft picks. Sometimes it doesn't work out, even with all the information you have in front of you.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to talk a bit about this team that we're putting together a bit more. I know we've touched on it, but first we're going to go into a short break. Then after that, I can't wait to break this down and break down a little bit more about your coaching career. So we'll talk a bit about that after the break.
Sounds good.
Want to stay up to date with everything happening at Melbourne United? Download the Melbourne United app today. Filled with videos, audio and articles about your favourite team. It's the one-stop shop for everything Melbourne United. Download the Melbourne United app via the App Store on iOS or the Google Play Store on Android.
And we're back here on the Extra Pass with Ben Hopkins, Adam Ballinger, and joined here by head coach of Melbourne United, Dean Vickerman. Dino, I want to talk a bit about your coaching career, and obviously you had a playing career, and then you transitioned from playing into coaching all around the world. Eventually, can you talk to me a bit about when you were a player? Was it popping in your head throughout the career, like, oh, this is what I want to do afterwards, or what was that process like, shifting from playing to coaching?
Yeah, it was pretty easy for me. I was a very fringe NBL player. Was more successful on the state teams, and once I got to the NBL level, and didn't quite get the opportunity that I was hopeful of, and maybe could have gone to some other teams and got some better opportunity. But I think there was always a path for me, that coaching with my parents and what my dad did as a football coach and a basketball coach, and even the way I thought I analysed games as a player, sitting there watching it was always with a coach lens on. So pretty natural progression for me.
Was that something that was, as a player, obviously, you're a young guy, you're trying to make your way in the league, trying to make your way as a professional, but as a player, was it in your mind like, oh, actually, I reckon I could coach? Or is that something that when you thought, oh, maybe my playing days are looking towards being over, that's something I look to shift towards?
Yeah, I think, I was always a coach, all through my playing. My dad started a basketball club. I'm 10 years old. I'm coaching the under 8s. I was always coaching kids wherever, I played at. It was a ways to continue to make extra money as a pro, working all the basketball camps and doing all those things, and really enjoyed it. I was just always thought that the fun that you bring at a camp and seeing kids get better, and the competitiveness and all those things, it was just something I always thought I was going to end up coaching.
Balls, is that something that you've seen that from your teammates or even yourself when maybe your playing days were coming to an end? It's always interesting because you only get to play for a set amount of years. So is that something that ever popped into your head, or you could see on guys who were on your team, like, oh, yeah, you can see that they're looking to make this transition?
Yeah, certainly. I think there's guys who play who you just know are going to be coaches. They're kind of coaches on the court, and there's other guys who have had a long career and really don't have much other options after basketball other than to get into basketball. And then so they get in any way they kind of can, and then they realize they do like the coaching side of it and stick with it and try to move up those ranks. But yeah, you can see the guys on the court usually who would be a good coach.
I know I've heard a lot, like, point guards make the best coaches. Is there any truth to that, or you see any big men that are just like, well, they're going to be the best coach ever?
At 5'11", I always thought that I could just go further in coaching than they could in the game. You got to be exceptional at 5'11" to make an Olympic team, or to do something like that. To crazy shooter, be the quickest guy by far, and defensive rat that just changes the game and do all those things. And that's what I tried to be, but it got me to the NBL level, but it was, didn't get me on an international stage or so. Yeah, I always just thought that the goal of trying to reach the pinnacle of basketball, for me was going to be better served as a coach.
Mm. Well, you talk about, those guys that play with that crazy energy. We've obviously got one of those locked back in for this season, Delhi coming back. How exciting is that for you, obviously having coached him for the 1 year and having that relationship and seeing what he's able to do with Sacramento and now having him back here locked in for hopefully the next 2 years?
Yeah, and then the first thought is that he's going to be better, and we got him at a point where, he was still mending his body and he still hadn't, he hadn't played for a little bit when he'd gone through a period of concussions and, we're just going to get a better version of Delhi this time around. And even talking to him saying, I'm guarding Fox in practice. I feel like I'm locking up one of the best, defending well against one of the best scorers in the league. My body's in great shape. I think he's just going to join us at a much different level than he joined us last time. And, I think you had a stat, right? After round 7, the most made threes at the highest percentage in the league. But, he didn't start that great last time. And when we saw once he got going what he was capable of, and that sent him back to the NBA. So this time, we get a guy that's still got the super hunger, still going to scrap and dive on the floor and do all, those things defensively. But, I think we probably get even more rounded offensive player this time around.
And he'd be a great example of a coach on the court, right? I mean, it seems to me from his playing, like how smart he is, and he kind of knows all the positions everyone's supposed to be in at all times, and probably will get into coaching, I would expect, after.
I don't know. It's, and you kind of feel like the Barlow one was, you always felt like the way that he coached in practice, that'd be a great role for him. And, probably coaching Reece Carter. Yep. I wasn't sure, which path he would take because, was he have 10 one-year contracts in the NBL? He bounced around everywhere.
He was doing all the and one moves. He was like the street ball kid.
But and on our team, you're always kind of asking questions of our staff to say, who do you reckon on our team might be a coach? Mm-hmm. And we talk about CG. Would you want to go that route at some point, or is it media, or I think some guys have got some pretty good options right now on our roster that could go either way in different areas.
We just touched on CG, and I actually want to go through a couple of mailbag questions that we got from some of the fans. One of the ones we got from Haley is one for you is, when CG shoots a 3, is there ever a moment where you think it's not going in?
As a coach, I always think it's not going in, but I know when he shoots a basketball, it's got a high percentage, but my job is not to be the cheerleader. My job is always to try and be a step ahead. So I'm like, are we crashing the offensive boards? Have we got defensive coverage? So I'm seeing that picture, and if it goes through, it's like, what's our disruption? What's the next thing? And there's moments in there that you get to celebrate and cheer, and certainly there's moments where you see something come off someone's fingers and you're like, oh, that's down. But I've got to try and think differently and make sure I'm a step ahead of the game.
It's so interesting because as a supporter, it's sometimes you just have those guys. Like I remember whenever I saw Barlow if his feet were set, I was like, oh, it's just going in. And I feel that way as a supporter, about CG. I'm just like, oh, it doesn't matter if he's just sprinted around for 20 seconds running off 100 screens when he catches it. I just think, but it's so interesting to.
Why didn't you use balls as the example then?
That's right.
Well, I never got to watch. Well, when we're playing in the Melbourne United staff versus the Cedar Kids games, I usually
a few years on.
I usually think they're going in.
No, but that is a great point to think. Like as a coach, what you're thinking of as a coach when the ball goes up, you're not thinking if the ball goes in. You're just thinking next play.
Just always assuming
the possibilities. As a fan, you're a little bit more relaxed and having fun. But he is a guy that when he catches the ball, the crowd stands up because everyone has a chance of going in.
Mm-hmm. What about you as a shooter, Balls? When you release that thing, you knew which one was going.
You don't always know, but you know the feel of it, and if it felt good. I always thought if I shot it the right way and it felt good, I wasn't too mad if it missed, but I was always mad if I didn't shoot it the right way or hurried it. I took a bad shot. But sometimes, especially you get in those zones where that was the reason you play, and those are the things you miss the most.
Well, you were on the court with CG for the 50-point game. I mean, what was that like?
I got him. I was setting all the screens. I think I was the first one to say get 50. I think so. I take a little bit of credit in that. But it was one of those games. He's had a bunch of them, and he just, as the game was going on, he just wasn't missing. He had the kind of the eye of the tiger, that you can see the guys get sometimes. And it was against Shane Heel. I think he was the coach. He was the coach. He wasn't a player coach, but then he was a coach, and he was always talking to Chris. He was always talking to him, like getting him going. Like you think he should shut up because it just got him more fired up. But I claim I was the first one to say get 50, and then he did. That was a special game.
10 screen assists.
Yeah, at least 3 or 4. Yeah. Hockey assist, the pass that make the next pass.
The extra pass.
Yeah. The extra pass. There you go.
There we go.
Well, is there, as a coach and as a player, were there guys, you just talk about Shane Hill getting in Chris's ear and probably to the detriment of his guys, is who's the player that comes to your mind like, oh, I don't want anyone from the other, well, I probably do want someone from the other team talking to them because that will just get them going.
I've kind of got one sitting in the back of my mind right now. I'm trying to think.
You mean a Cotton would be one, I would say. I mean, on our own team?
Or either someone you played with or someone that's in the league.
Yeah, Cotton's one.
He's rarely off though. He's rarely having a bad game.
You don't want to poke the bear.
Yeah, poke that bear.
No. I think there's guys that like Copes even. Like when people started chatting to him, he just got better. Shane Hill, you go poke that bear and he could go for 40 as well. So there's a bunch of guys in our league that I thought enjoyed that confrontation and took them to another level.
And you see it. I mean, you see it a lot of times in the NBA. Like, there's a lot of trash talking, a lot of guys getting real fired up. I had another mailbag question here from Mark, and for you, Dino, who is a player in the NBA that you would just most love to coach? It doesn't matter if it's a role player, it's a star. Is there a guy who's just like, I wish I could just coach this guy and run my offense around this guy?
Oh, run my offense?
Or you do whatever you want.
Who was I thinking of? Milwaukee guard.
Drew Holiday.
Love him.
Just defense, hustle.
He does everything though, right?
Scores.
And then there's emotion on his face that it doesn't seem to matter too much whether he's making shots, missing shots, or he just seems like this soldier that's just going to go out there and compete and, take big shots, make them, miss them. He can live with it. And but yeah, he's going to do whatever. He's just going to make plays. I'd love to have him on my team. I'd love to coach him.
Yeah, it's almost like a super level of what Delhi brings. It's just a guy who's just like always 100% every possession, and it doesn't matter if the shot's going in or not. He's just always on. Yeah,
and don't get me wrong. I love seeing emotion in players, but I think one of the arts of coaching that we continue to talk about in all sports right now is how quickly can you get back to the present? So whether you're celebrating or you're pissed off with something or whatever, but how quickly can you get back to your best? I mean, he kind of seems like he just stays in that area a whole lot, and you know what you're going to get. You know you're going to get a real consistency with him.
Well, we're going to take one more break, and we're going to come back with a final segment and then close it out. And this segment's going to be Fast 5 with balls. 5 questions from balls to you, Dino, and see if you can answer them. So we'll be back right after this break.
Melbourne United memberships are on sale now. Lock in your seat for the most exciting show in Australian sport and guarantee you're there for every highlight across next season. To find out more, go to membership.melbourneutd.com.au.
And we're back here on the Extra Pass at Melbourne United podcast. We're going to move into a segment all by you, balls.
Ready?
This is Fast 5 with balls.
Been waiting for this the whole time. Now we're on to the fun stuff. Yeah, they're hard hitting, so I hope you're ready. But there's no time limit. I know it's Fast 5, but you can take as much time as you want.
Yeah.
All right. Ready? Question number 1. First CD you purchased. Can you remember that? Of a certain age, first or last, or maybe any.
Remember Bobby Brown?
Bobby Brown CD, that's a great CD. I remember I had his greatest hits. You probably had one of his first ones. Poster you had on your wall as a kid?
I was all Jordan.
All Jordan posters, a bunch of them?
Larry came in first, and then Jordan pushed him over.
Yeah. I think
knocked him out.
Jordan posters. Your favorite pair of basketball shoes?
I had the Jordan 1s, probably the most memorable one to say. I'd ordered them from Bob French Sports in Dandenong and waiting on them for a couple of weeks, and then they're arrived and picking them up and putting them on and wearing a Rangers uniform in green and gold with the putting on the black and red and white shoe. It didn't quite work, but I love that pair of shoes.
Did they try and fine you like they did Jordan for wearing that color of shoes?
No,
they didn't. No fines.
No fines.
No rules.
No.
Too much respect for the shoe game.
Yeah, I thought you might say Reebok pumps. Weren't you a pump guy?
No, never. No, I had the kangaroo skin Pumas. I never went to the pumps.
Kangaroo skin Pumas. Wow. Okay, who would win in a fight? Prime, Pero Cameron, or Bear?
Ooh, Pero.
Yeah, strongest guy I've ever played with.
Strongest guy.
Naturally strong.
We played national team in Greece. Pero decides to get a little frisky and start up in the recovery session pool rugby. And we was trying to tackle Pero, drown people. He was just super crazy strong, and so we'll see if Flinny's son's got a little bit of Cameron strength.
I would expect he does.
Yeah.
All right, favorite movie and favorite TV show.
I love Good Will Hunting. Yeah. And what was the second one?
TV show. You got a favorite TV show you go back to over and over?
Right now, I am Ted Lasso. Is my favorite.
That's a coach's answer right there. That's a coach's answer.
So no, it's humorous, but it's got some good little teamy culture things in that I kind of like.
Yeah, great, awesome.
Yeah, I want to go back to poster on your wall and even it seems all Jordan when you go to posters on the wall and then the shoes. Was that something? I guess when you were coming up, obviously the shoe game is like shoe culture is just enormous now. You see it from our guys on the team, but back then was it similar? Like, who's got the coolest new Jordans, or who can even get the Jordans out here and stuff like that?
I don't think I ever got to the. I remember seeing the posters of the bird
weapons.
The weapons, but I never seemed to want to get a pair of those. I don't know if they just didn't.
Yeah, they weren't as cool as the Jordans, that's for sure.
They weren't as cool as the Jordans. Cool. But I liked them. I liked the poster. And I liked the. But once the Jordans came in, and then I was on a path. Then I was
all Jordan all the way,
tapping the new ones. Every time they came out. And so I think I went through 1 through 5 or 6 before I started changing to different shoes.
And they're the all-time favorite. The one's the all-time favorite.
The 3s were the one once they went to a kind of a midi, and it took a little bit of it was more of the white shoe, and it had a little bit less going on, so I felt like whatever uniform you wear, you could wear the 3 with.
Who's the guy on the team that I guess you're just they're always coming in with different shoes, and you're just like, man, I know professional athletes get paid a lot, but that's a lot of money on shoes.
I don't know if they're getting them for free or what's going on with everyone's shoe game, but I think D-Sav had a few the last year. I thought his shoe game was pretty good.
Chris has always got the Nikes. Chris has always got crazy Nikes.
Yeah, but he doesn't go the super crazy ones. Like he leaves his color palette pretty, mild as well.
Understated. I know he used to be a big shoe guy for sure.
Even Barlow always comes through with like nice Jordans and like old Jordans. Like he's not always going with like the brand, like the Jordan 33s. He's come like mid-teen Jordans.
If you got big feet out here in Australia, you can't, there's not much to choose from. Jordans and Air Force Ones are about your only choices.
Tuck tried a bunch of different shoes last year.
He was a Puma guy. He kept giving his shoes away.
Yeah.
And he was paying for them.
Was he?
Yeah, he was paying for his shoes, and he just, any kid that asked me, he's like, he was a Puma guy, yeah.
I think he even wore X's around for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. He even tried the streeters for a little bit.
Yeah. You're not giving any of your shoes away, Balls?
No, I don't get sponsorships, so I got to pay for my shoes. And like I said, no one else can wear them. I'm size 17. It's not easy to give those away.
That's crazy. Well, Dino, it's been great having you on. It's been awesome to talk about this. We're both super excited for the rest of this preseason and to really get started into the regular season. I can't wait. Dino, thanks so much for coming on and being a guest.
Appreciate it. Love being first, but we still didn't talk about balls in our championship in New Zealand. And
That's right. Where's that?
Want another episode?
Well, yeah, it's gonna have
try and get that.
We're going to have to go part 2 then.
We didn't get to talk
I
about
won't
Mornington either. Mornington Breakers.
Oh yes.
I won't even come in for that one. I'll just press the button. I'll leave, and you guys can just talk. We can go as long as you want on that one.
Retrospective. That'll be fun.
No, thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, Dino.